Morning. Okay, you sound a little bit more awake than yesterday. Good start. So yesterday, we got you guys started on your research by looking at encyclopedias and databases online. We started you there because those are your high-quality sources of information. They've been vetted by professionals, deemed to be accurate information for you to use. So today we are going to be talking about how you can make sure that information, websites, and sources you find on the wider internet are also accurate and good, reliable sources for you to use. All right, so getting started. Think in your head, if you will, about the last thing you searched for online. It doesn't have to be for this class, just the last thing you did a Google search for. And then see if you can answer these questions. Were you able to find an answer? Was it a good answer? How could you tell that it was a good answer? What was it that made you pick one link on Google over another? Does anyone have anything they look for in a website or a document that makes them say, yeah, this is the one I'm going to use, this is a believable source? What are some things you guys would look for? Which one would you be more likely to believe? .org. Yeah, that's definitely a good place to start looking at information. Anybody else? No? There's nothing? You just believe that first link that's up there?
Well, if in the search bar, once you click on it, it says not secure, then you probably shouldn't click on it.
Yep, that's definitely for safety and privacy issues. Don't spend much time on those websites, for sure. Well, we're going to go through a checklist today, a 4-point checklist that's going to walk you through the steps of evaluating a source you find online and the things you need to consider as you're analyzing it. And good news is, it spells out a really handy acronym, CARS. So the things we're going to be looking for are credibility, accuracy, reasonableness, and support. And these are things you can check not just for this research assignment, but for future research, and just for life in general. If you're finding information online, anybody can be putting that information out there. So it's really important that you know the different points to look for to prove that this is a good, reliable, valid source of information. All right, so the first step on our list is credibility. And the question you'll want to ask yourself is, how reliable is this source of information? So that means looking at who put this information on the internet, who is the author, who was the publisher. You'll look at the URL like we talked about, .org, .com, .gov. There might be some .mil for military websites for this project in particular. You want to be able to say that the author of that document, website, article you're looking at is an expert and knows exactly what they're talking about. And sometimes that might require doing a little research on who that author is or who the organization is, but it's really worth your time. So if I were to find a website that has all this information and is talking about the Holocaust, and I find that the author of it is World War II fan 67, how do we feel about that website now? Not so good, right? Probably not a valid source of information. They're a fan, but we can't prove that they're an expert. All right, our second point is accuracy. Is the information actually correct and up to date? So that means going through and seeing if it matches what you already know about that topic, if it matches what you've learned in your social studies class. It means looking at the publication date, which for this project is probably not as high ranking of a decision because you're going to be looking at some more historic documents, and if you find a primary source from 1940, it's probably a great source. If you were looking at scientific discoveries from the 1940s to find out what's happening today, not so reliable. You're going to want to look for the presence of data in your article, web page, whatever you're looking at. If they're able to talk about statistics and specific numbers, it lends more credibility to that source, and you're more likely to believe what they're saying. And again, matching your prior knowledge. Does it sound like it matches everything you know about this topic already? Reasonableness. Is the information fair and objective? If you find an article from the New York Times that's talking about a Holocaust survivor, and at the top of the page it says opinion. What do we think about that website? Do you think it's your best choice for an article for your paper? Probably not. We're going to look for things that are lacking bias. They're not taking a side and trying to put the other side down. We're looking for articles and websites that are not full of opinions, because those are hard to back up. They're not fact. And we're looking for articles and websites that have an even tone. They're not using unprofessional language or, like I said with two different arguments, putting one side down and not presenting facts fairly. We want them to take an even tone looking at all sides of a particular topic. And our last point is support. Where did this information come from? So we've already established that we're looking for authors that know what they're talking about, but how do we know where they're getting their information from? Are they citing their sources at the end of the website, or have sources linked throughout? Are they consistent in what they're saying? So does their first paragraph match their conclusion? Does one page of the website match another page? If there's inconsistency, it's definitely a suspicious source of information. And then, like we said before, does it agree with other sources? So for this project, you're pulling from all different places to find information on your topic. You want to make sure that each of those sources agrees with each other. If one is already all sounding out of left field, that's suspicious. I wouldn't trust that one. All right, so the important thing to remember here is that anyone can put information online, especially places like Wikipedia. You don't know who those authors are. Not everything that you find online is going to be helpful or useful or valid information. So it's up to you to take the time to go through these steps of this checklist and make sure you can justify why you're using that article and prove that it is a valid source of information, okay? So to practice this checklist before we send you out to continue your own research, we're going to do a little exercise. On the library website, it's going to be, let me scroll down a little for you so you can see where it is here. You're going to go down to the bottom of the middle school library resource list to World War II project, website comparison. And there's going to be a link to two different websites on there. I am going to ask you guys to look at those two websites, browse around them a little bit. They contain information about nurses during World War II. And I want you to go through that CARS checklist and analyze the websites and evaluate which one you think would be a better choice for your research project. And then I'm going to be passing out a piece of paper. On this piece of paper, you are going to put your name because we will be collecting these as a check for understanding. Okay, it's not getting graded, but it's so we know that everybody is following along with the process of evaluating your sources. And so after you've looked at both of these websites, you are going to write down which one would be your choice as a valid source of information, and then justify your reason for choosing that one using evidence from that CARS checklist.
290 pounds.
It's okay, it's just scrap paper, we recycled here. Okay? So take 5 minutes or so to check out these websites. And then don't forget writing your name at the top of that piece of paper because we will be collecting them. Website 8 and 6. No, it's just scrap paper.
Whoa, my backup changed.
long as it's doing its thing, that's fine.
Actual. And I already say it's this way. Do I even have to look at them? Just look at the link in the looking for it?
No, click on them, because in order to go through the whole checklist, you'll need to open them up and look at the information that's actually on the website. And if you guys would like to discuss with the person next to you as you're working, share some ideas, bounce feedback off each other, that's fine too.
I don't know how to send me notifications. Go away.
What's that? It's very annoying.
I don't know. Hey, Sean, here to read this one, I'll read the other one.
Those are all things to take into consideration as you're evaluating.
All right, yep, this has to be the best one.
I'm going to share my information with you.
This one has to be the best one, it says not secure.
A pencil, sure.
This is the perfect one, it says not secure.
That's asking a lot. Yes. Hold on one second.
Break that one in half, break it in half. Did you actually? You got the erase red. Do I have to read all this? All the information on it?
Just go through your checklist. What are the things you're looking for?
Cars.
Yes.
Trucks.
C. What is C? Here, let me pull it back up for you so you can see it.
Is that Eric? No, it's not. It's not secure.
All right, so this checklist here, the CARS checklist, is in your OneNotes for you to use today as you're doing your research. Go back and review the questions there. Did you restart your OneNote? It should be there.
It is accurate. That does. It doesn't have any citations. Oh. Oh.
Finished? Okay. I'll give you just another minute or two to finish up your thoughts.
Dude, this one's even worse. This isn't even secure. It is. Yours says HTTPS.
There's definitely ones that I would choose
No,
as more
mine
reliable
just has this stuff and it's
based
not
on this
secure.
checklist. There's some suspicious things on the other website. So it's just your opinion. If you were searching for World War II nurses and you came across both of these, just tell me why you would pick one over the other.
I think this one just because it's screwed.
Oh, were you?
Contact us.
Do you still like it based on this checklist that we went through today? You don't know. Right, and that's fine, that's why we go over this, so let's know the process of figuring out what are good sources out there. So you're not just taking the first three off of Google search. That's all right. Hi. Can I help you? Because that doesn't sound right. what we should be doing right now. Finished? Okay, how about some actual information that's going to help me believe that you know how to evaluate sources online?
Oh, which was? Page letters.
Here, while we're waiting for everyone else to finish up, you want to give me some justification for why it's better? Why did you choose that?
Because it's these two. Just horrible. Scrubs magazine. The hopes are
All right. Okay. Is that better? It's better. Yes. Okay. So, just to regroup up here, what was our general feeling? What did we think was the better of the two resources, A or B? B. Who would like to share some reasons why they picked that B was better?
Oh, because we didn't have any ads or had like a search bar to find more information.
Okay, yeah, that's great. So what might ads suggest?
That they,
Why would ads be a bad thing to see on a page?
But they're trying to make money.
They're trying to make money off of it, right? Yeah, it might not be completely unbiased information, right? Because they have advertisers that want them to say a certain thing. Sure. What else did we notice about the websites?
B said it was written by a historian.
B was written by a historian. Probably an expert in what they're talking about then, right? Who was the author of the first article? Did anyone find one?
The magazine company.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the magazine.
just the magazine staff. We don't know who they are. We don't know why. There's no reason for us to believe them. Anything else?
Oh.
Any other points of that checklist you use to evaluate your sources?
B sounded more professional.
More professional. So the tone?
The article. We cited photos and facts.
Yeah, definitely. They had citations on there.
B has pictures.
B has pictures that have citations. We know where they came from. They're historical. Yes.
A was trying to get me to subscribe to their magazine.
Right. So definitely an agenda. They were pushing a certain goal, getting subscribers. All right. So it sounds like we have a good idea of how the CARS checklist works. Any questions about any of this? How to evaluate your sources?
Quentin, what is your?
So we're only going to see high quality sources in your papers?
Yes.
Yes?
Okay, the best.
Excellent. You have the remainder of the time to get back to your research. If you did not hand in those pieces of paper to me, drop them off at the shelf up here before you start researching, please.